Look around you, right now. What do you see? A blue sky, green trees, red cars, yellow flowers. The world is painted in color, beautiful, vibrant, obvious color. You've seen colors since the moment you opened your eyes as a baby. You trust your eyes. You believe what you see. The sky is blue, grass is green, blood is red. Obviously, except none of that is true. Colors don't exist, not out there, not in the world, not anywhere except inside your head. The sky is not blue, grass is not green, nothing has any color at all. And when you understand what's really happening, when you see color, you will never trust your eyes again. Let me show you. Here's what you think is happening. Light bounces off an object. That light has a color. The color enters your eye. Your brain registers it. Simple. You see what's there. The apple is red, so you see red. The banana is yellow, so you see yellow. The world is colored, and you're just observing the colors that exist. Wrong. Completely, catastrophically, fundamentally wrong. The apple is not red. The banana is not yellow. Nothing out there has any color whatsoever. Color is not a property of objects. Color is not in the light. Color is a hallucination created entirely inside your skull. Let me prove it to you. What is light? Light is electromagnetic radiation. Waves, like radio waves, like microwaves, like X-rays. The only difference is the wavelength. Radio waves are long. X-rays are short. Visible light is in between. When light hits your eye, what's actually there? Not color, wavelength, just wavelength, a number. The light from the sky has a wavelength of about 450 nanometers. The light from grass has a wavelength of about 550 nanometers. The light from blood has a wavelength of about 700 nanometers. Numbers, that's all that's out there, numbers. Does the number 450 look blue to you? Does the number 550 look green? Does the number 700 look red? Of course not. Numbers don't have colors. They're just numbers. The wavelength of light is just a physical measurement, a distance, the distance between peaks of a wave. There's nothing blue about 450 nanometers. There's nothing green about 550 nanometers. The color you see is not in the light. The color you see is created by your brain when it processes these different wavelengths. Here's what actually happens. Light of wavelength, 700 nanometers, enters your eye. It hits your retina. On your retina are cells called cones. You have three types of cones. One type responds strongly to long wavelengths. One type responds strongly to medium wavelengths. One type responds strongly to short wavelengths. When 700 nanometer light hits your retina, the long wavelength cones fire a lot. The medium wavelength cones fire a little. The short wavelength cones barely fire at all. This pattern of firing, lots of long, some medium, almost no short, this pattern is sent to your brain, and your brain interprets this pattern as red. But red is not in the light. Red is not in the cones. Red is not even in the signals traveling to your brain. Red is something your brain creates to label this particular pattern of cone activation. Red is a quale, a subjective experience, a color only you can see, only you can experience, existing only inside your consciousness. The external world has wavelengths. Your internal world has colors, and there's no guarantee they match. Think about this. Your brain could have labeled that pattern as anything. It could have created the experience of blue when long wavelength cones fire. It could have created an entirely new sensation that no word describes. The fact that you see red when 700 nanometer light hits your eye is arbitrary. It's just how your brain happened to be wired. The color is a label, a tag, a way of organizing information. It's not reality, it's representation. Here's something that will really disturb you. How do you know that what you call red is the same as what I call red? When we both look at blood, we both say red, but are we seeing the same thing? Maybe when I see blood, I experience what you would call blue, but I've been taught to call that experience red. So we both say red, but we're having completely different experiences. There's no way to check. No way to compare. No way to get inside each other's heads and see if our reds match. This is called the inverted qualia problem, and it's not just philosophy. It's pointing to something deep about the nature of color. Color is private. Color is subjective. Color exists only in individual minds. There is no public, objective, external color that we can all verify. There's only wavelength, and each brain translates wavelength into color in its own way. Let me show you how easily your color experience can be manipulated. Stare at a red square for 30 seconds. Then look at a white wall. What do you see? A cyan ghost, the after image. Your brain saw so much red that the red detecting system got tired, fatigued. When you look at white light, which contains all wavelengths equally, the tired red system underperforms. The other systems dominate. And you see cyan, the opposite of red, but there's no cyan on that wall. The wall is white. The cyan is entirely in your head. Your brain created it from nothing. Color constancy is another trick your brain plays. Go outside on a sunny day. Look at a white piece of paper. It looks white. Now go inside under incandescent light. Look at the same paper. It still looks white. But here's the thing. The light reflecting off that paper is completely different in the two situations. Sunlight is bluish. Incandescent light is orangish. The wavelengths entering your eye are dramatically different, but your brain compensates. It adjusts. It makes the paper look the same white in both cases. Your brain is lying to you, showing you consistency that doesn't exist in the actual light. The dress. Remember the dress? That viral image where some people saw blue and black and others saw white and gold? Same image. Same wavelengths hitting everyone's eyes. Completely different colors perceived. How is that possible? Because different brains made different assumptions about the lighting. Different brains created different colors from the same input. The color was never in the image. The color was always in the brains. And different brains can create different colors from identical data. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about colors that don't correspond to any wavelength at all. Magenta. Look at magenta. It seems like a perfectly normal color. Sits between red and blue on the color wheel. But here's the thing. There is no wavelength of light that is magenta. Red is long wavelength. Blue is short wavelength. Magenta should be in between, right? No. In between red and blue is green. The spectrum goes red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, violet. Magenta is not on the spectrum. Magenta doesn't exist as a wavelength. So what is magenta? Magenta is what your brain creates when it receives red light and blue light at the same time with no green. Your brain can't find a wavelength that fits. There's no single wavelength that activates long cones and short cones, but not medium cones. So your brain invents a color. It makes up magenta, a color with no physical counterpart, a pure hallucination. You see it, you experience it, it feels real, but it corresponds to nothing in the external world. And magenta isn't the only one. Pink, brown. These colors don't exist as single wavelengths either. Brown is just dark orange, but it doesn't look like dark orange, does it? It looks like a completely different color. Your brain creates brown as a distinct category, a separate experience, even though physically it's just the same wavelength as orange, less intense. The color brown is an invention, a fabrication, a lie your brain tells you to make sense of the world. Here's something even more mind-bending. The number of colors you can see is not determined by physics. It's determined by biology, by the number of cone types you have. Humans have 3 types of cones. We're trichromats. We can distinguish about 1 million different colors. Dogs have 2 types of cones. They're dichromats. They see about 10,000 colors. To a dog, red and green look the same. They're not colorblind in the sense of missing something. They just have a different color system, a simpler one. But now here's where it gets crazy. Mantis shrimp have 16 types of cones. 16. They can see wavelengths we can't even detect. Ultraviolet, infrared, colors we don't have names for because we've never experienced them. What does the world look like to a mantis shrimp? We literally cannot imagine. We're trapped in our 3-cone reality. We can't conceive of colors we've never seen. The mantis shrimp lives in a world of color we will never access. Let me tell you about other animals and how they see color. Bees can see ultraviolet light. Flowers have patterns in ultraviolet that are invisible to us but guide bees to the nectar. When a bee looks at a flower, it sees something completely different from what you see. Landing strips, arrows, patterns that don't exist in our visible spectrum. The flower you see is not the flower the bee sees. Both are real, both are valid. Neither is the true color of the flower, because there is no true color. Birds have 4 types of cones, tetrachromats. They see a dimension of color we cannot access. When a male and female bird look identical to us, the male might be wildly colorful to other birds. In ultraviolet, in wavelengths we're blind to. Bird plumage is designed for bird eyes, not human eyes. We're seeing a faded version, a compressed version, a 3-dimensional shadow of a 4-dimensional color space. Snakes can see infrared, heat vision. They detect wavelengths far longer than red. To a snake, warm-blooded animals glow. In the dark, a mouse is a bright beacon of infrared radiation. The snake sees something we don't have a color for, something that doesn't exist in human experience. What does infrared look like? We'll never know. We can detect it with instruments. We can translate it into colors we can see, but we can't experience it directly. That door is closed to us. Some deep-sea fish have evolved to see in complete darkness. They detect bioluminescence, flashes of light in the abyss. Their eyes are tuned to specific wavelengths that other creatures produce. The deep ocean is not dark to them. It's a light show, a disco of biological signals we would never see. Different eyes, different world, same ocean, different reality. And some humans have 4 types of cones. They're called tetrachromats, usually women. An extra cone type sensitive to wavelengths between red and green. They can see colors the rest of us can't. Shades and distinctions invisible to normal humans. They look at a leaf and see variations we see as identical green. Their world is richer, more colorful, not because the world changed, but because their brains create more colors. Researchers estimate that true tetrachromats might see up to 100 million colors compared to our 1 million. 99 million colors we can't see. That exists in their experience, but not in ours. They walk through a world so much richer than ours, and they can never explain it to us, because you can't describe a color to someone who's never seen it. You can't share an experience that doesn't exist in another mind. Think about what this means. The number of colors in the world depends on who's looking. There's no objective answer to how many colors exist. 3 for dogs, 1 million for humans, possibly hundreds of millions for mantis shrimp, something in between for tetrachromats. Color is not a feature of reality. Color is a feature of perception, and perception varies. Let me tell you about people who see no color at all. Total color blindness, achromatopsia. These people have cones that don't work properly. They see only in shades of gray. To them, the world is a black and white movie. But here's the question. Is their world less real than yours? Are they missing something that's actually there? No. They're just representing wavelength differently. Instead of the 3-dimensional color space you experience, they have a 1-dimensional brightness scale. Different representation. Not wrong, just different. Let's talk about the different types of color blindness. Red-green color blindness is the most common. About 8% of men have it. Their red cones or green cones don't work normally. Red and green look similar, sometimes brownish, sometimes yellowish. They don't see the red in a sunset the way you do. They don't see the green in grass the way you do. But they've never known any different. Their world looks normal to them. It's only in comparison that something seems missing. Blue-yellow color blindness is rarer. Tritanopia. Blue looks greenish. Yellow looks pinkish. The world shifts in a different direction, a different compression of color space. Still functional, still navigable, just different. And then there's monochromacy, true color blindness, no working cones at all, only rods. The world is grayscale, all color information lost. just brightness. These people often have extreme light sensitivity because rods are designed for dim light. They can see in the dark better than you. They lose color but gain night vision, a trade-off. Neither better nor worse, just different. Here's something that will really disturb you. Colorblind people often don't know they're colorblind until they're tested. They've been calling things red and green their whole lives. They learned the words like everyone else. They just map those words to different experiences. When they find out they're colorblind, they're shocked. They thought they were seeing what everyone else was seeing. They weren't. And they had no way to know. How do you know you're not colorblind in a way that hasn't been discovered yet? Maybe your blue is shifted compared to everyone else's. Maybe your red is darker. Maybe you're missing subtle distinctions that others see easily. You'd never know. You have no access to anyone else's color experience. You're trapped in your own perception with no way to verify it matches anyone else's. Now let's talk about the physical world. What's actually out there, independent of any observer? Light of various wavelengths. That's it. No colors, just electromagnetic radiation oscillating at different frequencies. When we say the sky is blue, we mean the sky preferentially scatters short wavelength light toward our eyes. When we say grass is green, we mean grass absorbs most wavelengths but reflects medium wavelengths. The objects aren't colored. They're just interacting with light in different ways. The color happens later, in brains, in minds, in experience. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine a universe with no conscious beings, no eyes, no brains, no one to see. Would colors exist in that universe? There would be light. There would be wavelengths. There would be objects absorbing and reflecting different wavelengths. But would there be red? Would there be blue? Would there be green? No. There would be no colors at all. Color requires a perceiver. Color is relational. It exists in the interaction between light and mind. No mind, no color. The universe would be dark, not black, because black is also a color experience. Just wavelengths oscillating in the void with no one to translate them into color. This is profound. It means color is not discovered. Color is created. Every time you open your eyes, you're not seeing colors that are out there. You're creating colors that exist only in your consciousness. You're painting the world with your mind. The world provides the wavelengths. You provide the colors. Let's talk about how fragile your color system is. There's a condition called cerebral achromatopsia, damage to a specific part of the brain, area V4, and you lose color vision. Not because your eyes stop working. Your eyes are fine. Your cones are fine. The signals reach your brain. But the part of the brain that creates color from those signals is damaged. So you see in grayscale. The wavelengths are still there. Your eyes still detect them. But the color is gone because color was never in the eyes. Color was always in the brain. Damage the brain. Lose the color. Now here's something that will really bend your mind. There's a condition called synesthesia, where some people see colors when they hear sounds, or see colors when they read numbers. The number 5 might always appear red to them. The note C might always appear blue. Their brains are cross-wired. Information from one sense creates experiences in another. This proves that color is just a brain state, a type of neural activity. It can be triggered by wavelengths hitting the eye, but it can also be triggered by sound, by numbers, by anything. If the brain is wired that way. There are many types of synesthesia. Chromesthesia is seeing colors when hearing sounds. Music becomes a light show. Every note has a color, every chord a combination. Synesthetes describe concerts as visual experiences. They see the music, literally, not metaphorically. The colors are as real to them as the colors you see when you look at an apple. Grapheme color synesthesia is seeing colors in letters and numbers. The letter A might be red. The number 7 might be green. These associations are automatic and consistent. The same letter is always the same color. The synesthete can't turn it off. It's not imagination. It's perception. The brain is creating color from something that has no wavelength at all. Some synesthetes taste shapes. Others smell colors. The combinations are endless. The brain is flexible. Cross-wiring can happen in many ways, and all of it proves the same thing. Color is a brain state. It can be triggered by many things. Light is just one trigger. The color itself is always internal, always constructed, always a creation of the mind. You can even see colors in dreams. Vivid, bright, undeniable colors. But in dreams, your eyes are closed. No light is entering, no wavelengths, no physical stimulus at all. Yet you see colors. Because color doesn't require light. Color requires brain activity, the right neural patterns, and color appears, whether triggered by light or memory or random noise in sleeping neurons. Let's talk about language and color. The Himba tribe in Namibia has no separate word for blue and green. They use one word for both, and studies show they have difficulty distinguishing blue from green in tests. Meanwhile, they have multiple words for different shades of green, and they can distinguish between greens that look identical to us. Language shapes perception. The categories your language provides affect what colors you see. Color is not just biological. It's cultural, it's linguistic, it's constructed on multiple levels. Russian speakers have separate words for light blue and dark blue, goluboy and sini. They're not just shades of the same color in Russian. They're different colors, like red and pink in English. And Russian speakers are faster at distinguishing light blue from dark blue than English speakers. Their language carved up the color spectrum differently, and their perception followed. Japanese has a word, ao, that covers both blue and green. Traffic lights in Japan are called blue, even though they look green to English speakers. The categories are different. The experience is different. Same wavelengths, different colors, because the language is different. Ancient languages often lacked words for blue. Homer described the sea as wine dark. The sky is mentioned repeatedly in ancient texts, but rarely called blue. Did ancient people not see blue? They saw the wavelengths. Their cones worked fine. But without a word for blue, without a category, blue might not have popped out as a distinct color. It might have been lumped with green or gray or dark. The color existed as a potential, but it wasn't actualized until language created the category. The Horff hypothesis suggests language shapes thought. Nowhere is this more clear than in color. Give people words for colors, and they see those colors more distinctly. Lack words, and the colors blur together. Your color vocabulary is shaping your color experience right now. The limits of your language are the limits of your color world. Here's where this gets philosophical. If colors exist only in minds, and minds are physical things, then colors are physical too, just not the kind of physical you thought. Color is a brain state, a pattern of neural activity. It's as physical as any other brain process, but it's not physical in the way wavelength is physical. Wavelength exists out there. Color exists in here. Both are real, but they're different kinds of real. The philosopher John Locke distinguished between primary and secondary qualities. Primary qualities are things like mass, shape, motion. They exist in objects independent of observers. Secondary qualities are things like color, taste, smell. They exist only in the interaction between objects and mind. The object has dispositions to cause certain experiences, but the experiences themselves are not in the objects. This means the colorful world you see is your brain's creation, a simulation, a virtual reality generated from sparse data. Light of various wavelengths enters your eyes. Your brain takes this limited information and creates a rich, detailed, colored experience. You're not seeing reality, you're seeing your brain's best guess about reality, a model, a representation. And color is part of that model. Let me show you how different this model can be from reality. Color mixing. When you mix red paint and blue paint, you get purple. When you mix red paint and yellow paint, you get orange. This is subtractive color mixing. It's about pigments absorbing wavelengths. But when you mix red light and blue light, you get magenta, and when you mix red light and green light, you get yellow. This is additive color mixing. It's about wavelengths combining. Wait, red light plus green light equals yellow, that makes no sense in terms of wavelength. Yellow light has a wavelength of about 580 nanometers. Red is 700. Green is 550. How does combining 700 and 550 give you 580? It doesn't. The wavelengths don't average. What happens is your red cones fire because of the red light, and your green cones fire because of the green light. This pattern of red cones plus green cones firing together is the same pattern that would occur if 580 nanometer light hit your eye. So your brain creates the same color, yellow, even though there's no yellow wavelength present. Your brain can't tell the difference between a single wavelength and a combination that produces the same cone activation pattern. This is called metamerism. Two physically different lights that look the same. Your color vision is being fooled constantly. The world is full of metamers, colors that match to your eyes but are physically completely different. This is why TV screens work. Your screen doesn't produce yellow light. It produces red, green, and blue dots. When you see yellow on screen, you're seeing red and green dots side by side, so small your eye can't distinguish them. They stimulate your cones in a pattern that produces yellow. But there's no yellow there, just red and green. The yellow is created by your brain. Every color on your TV, your phone, your computer monitor, it's all a trick, a hack of your visual system. Red, green, and blue dots in various combinations, exploiting the fact that your brain creates color from cone activation patterns, not from actual wavelengths. The screens are lying to you, and your brain believes every lie. This is why printed colors never quite match screen colors. Screens use additive mixing, light adding together. Printers use subtractive mixing, inks absorbing light. The physics is different. The metamers are different. A yellow on screen and a yellow in print might look the same, but they're achieved through completely different physical means, and sometimes they don't quite match. The same color recipe produces different results. Cameras have this problem too. Your camera has sensors that detect light, but they don't detect it the same way your eyes do. The response curves are different. A camera might see two colors as identical that your eyes see as different, or vice versa. The photo never perfectly captures what you saw because the camera has different metamer classes. It's fooled by different things than your eyes are. Let me tell you about impossible colors. Colors that can't exist under normal viewing conditions but can be seen through special techniques. Stygian blue, a blue so dark it's darker than black. Impossible, right? Black is the darkest thing. But through certain visual tricks after image effects, your brain can be made to create Stygian blue, a color darker than black but still blue. Not real in any external sense, but experienceable. Your brain can create colors that violate the rules, colors that shouldn't exist, but they do inside your head. Hyperbolic orange, self-luminous green, forbidden colors. Researchers have found ways to make people see these impossible colors by stabilizing the eye, presenting different colors to each eye, various tricks. The colors that result don't exist in nature, don't exist on any color wheel, don't correspond to any wavelength or combination of wavelengths. They exist only as neural possibilities, potential brain states that can be triggered under unusual conditions. There's another class of impossible colors, reddish green, yellowish blue. These are opponent colors. Your brain processes them as opposites. Something can't be red and green at the same time. Something can't be yellow and blue at the same time. That's how normal vision works. But with special techniques, presenting red to one eye and green to the other, some people report seeing reddish green, a color that shouldn't exist, a color that violates the rules of color opponency. Their brains create it anyway. A color no one had ever seen before, a new experience created in a lab. This proves that your color space is larger than the physical stimulus space. There are more colors you can experience than there are wavelength combinations that exist. Your brain can create colors that have no physical counterpart. Color is not limited by physics. Color is limited only by neurology, by what brain states are possible. Let me tell you about color psychology. Colors affect your mood, your behavior, your decisions. Red makes you more aggressive. Blue calms you down. Yellow energizes. These effects are real and measurable, but they're not properties of the wavelengths. They're properties of what those wavelengths do to your brain. The color is creating a brain state. That brain state affects everything else. The color itself is still just wavelength. The psychological effect is in the brain's response. Marketing uses this constantly. Red for urgency, blue for trust, green for nature. These associations are cultural too. White means purity in some cultures, death in others. The color triggers associations. The associations trigger feelings. The feelings influence behavior, all happening in the brain, all based on colors that don't exist outside of brains. Here's the deepest point. When you see red, you're not detecting a property of the external world. You're having an experience, a subjective, private, internal experience that we label red. The redness of red is not in the light. It's not in the cone. It's not even in the neural signal. The redness of red is what it's like to have a certain brain state. And what things are like is the domain of consciousness, the hard problem, the mystery. Why does 700 nanometer light feel like red? Why doesn't it feel like blue? Why does it feel like anything at all? Physics can tell you that 700 nanometer light activates certain cones. Neuroscience can tell you that those cones send signals to the brain, but neither can tell you why there's a redness to red, why there's something it's like to see color. That's the mystery of consciousness, and color is at the heart of it. Every color you see raises this question. Why this experience? Why not some other? Why any experience at all? The wavelengths don't answer. The cones don't answer. The neurons don't answer. Somewhere in the brain, physical processes become experiences. Wavelengths become colors, and no one knows how. You walk through the world thinking it's colored, thinking you see colors that are out there. But the truth is stranger. The world is wavelengths, just numbers, frequencies, physical properties with no color at all. And your brain takes these numbers and creates an experience, a private, subjective, inexplicable experience of color: red, blue, green, yellow. All of them are your creations, your hallucinations, your brain painting the world with colors that don't exist. Colors don't exist. Not out there, not in the light, not in objects, not anywhere except in your conscious experience. And that experience is yours alone, private, incommunicable, possibly different from everyone else's. The next time you see a beautiful sunset, remember, the sky is not orange. The clouds are not pink. There are just wavelengths scattering in the atmosphere. And your brain is creating a light show, painting colors on a colorless world, making beauty from numbers. You're not seeing reality. You're creating it, one color at a time. And that is far more beautiful than any sunset could ever be.